Welcome to Building Better Relationships with Chuck and Barb Lewis, equipping listeners and viewers with the biblical tools to conquer the difficulties faced in this life. Chuck has practiced crisis intervention since the 1980s and has been in ministry together with his wife Barb for over 20 years. They've taken the countless lessons and the knowledge they've acquired and have put them into this life skills class to share with you. We hope this blesses you.
Well, hello again. I'm Pastor Chuck Lewis, and this is my wife.
I'm Barbara.
We're excited to be with you for another Building Better Relationships broadcast. And today our topic's going to be...
We're going to talk about traits of a functional family.
The traits of a functional family. Well, boy, I know what a dysfunctional family is like. I could have a PhD in how to run a dysfunctional family, but it's learning how to run a family in a functional way. And that is so needed in our time. And I know when I grew up, I had to learn these tools and skills. I did not grow up with them, so I had to learn them in different places and events and seminars, and oh my goodness, there was so much for me to learn.
Yes,
still is, really.
Yeah, I think we just keep learning, and very often, even when we know how to do things right, we don't always do it right if we're upset or angry or whatever. But it helps to know what is the target that we're shooting for.
Yeah.
So I know growing up, I didn't feel like I had much of a voice, that I was encouraged to talk about feelings or what happened that day and how I felt about it.
Yeah.
I didn't see my parents do that. They didn't encourage us to do it. In fact, I think my parents grew up during an era when people didn't really talk about their feelings.
Right.
I mean, both of them had difficult childhoods. And so I think it's important to have a voice. I mean, having a voice is one of the primary ways that we're created in the image of God. So in a functional family, all should have a voice.
Yes.
And, be heard and validated. And one thing that I know you used to teach people about when you did counseling, family counseling, was having a family meeting.
Yes.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and I hooked up with a family that used to have a family meeting on Friday nights, and when they got through with their family meeting, sometimes during and sometimes after, they'd have pizza, and it wasn't a courtroom atmosphere. It wasn't something that you would just dread having or whatever. The family actually looked forward to it. So I asked them if I could join their family meetings just to learn from them.
Yeah.
And they'd go around the room and talk about what their week was like and what they were experiencing in their life right now. And when somebody would share something, the whole family would hear them and validate them for what they were experiencing. And there was a lot of laughter, there was a lot of joy, but nobody would be made fun of, nobody would be picked on or any of that. It was a very safe atmosphere. And a lot of the things that would happen in that meeting, I'd be sitting over there with my mouth open and my chin on the floor because I had never seen or heard anything like that before. And they used to say, well, Chuck, you look like you've never seen this before. And I said, that's because I haven't. Yeah. This is the first time I've ever been in a family gathering where everybody is treated with such honor and respect. It was so good. I just loved it. And I thought, wow, what a difference it would have made if I could have been raised that way too.
That would have been great.
Yes.
I heard you say two things that I want to bring attention to. And one is whenever someone shared how they felt, they weren't put down for that. No. It was a safe environment. So that word safe is a big deal. And how can we create safety so that family members feel like it's okay to share when they're happy or when they're sad or upset or angry or whatever, what creates safety?
Well, the father really had a lot to do with that because he set up some good boundaries in that family, and he laid out the rules of the group and of the family meeting, and said, we're going to share anything you want to share about what's going on in your life, and nobody's going to be allowed to put you down for sharing that. They're not going to make fun of you. They're not going to do any of that. They're just going to hear what you're saying, and if they have something to say encouraging to you, then they're going to share that. But if they don't, if they have negative things to say, they're not going to be allowed to say it. And so one time, one of the kids, I guess, was having a tough time, with his life that day or whatever that time of his life. So another family member said something, and he did just that. He did the opposite of honor and respect. He kind of made fun of him, and so the father said, "Well, I'm sorry that you chose to do that because you know the rules and you know the boundaries. So you can leave the meeting and think about what you did, and then maybe next time you can join us again." I mean, see, the father really had to be the facilitator of that group, because if you have a good father, a good leader, they can keep that situation under control to where people's feelings are not hurt. Because, I mean, a gathering like that can be a time where it can be a disaster. I mean, to where if you've got things against the other members of the family, you think, well, this is a perfect opportunity to take out my feelings on that person. And, that could just be disaster. But if you have boundaries that you set around that meeting, it can be a wonderful time of sharing and a wonderful time of encouragement. And that's the way it was in that family.
Well, I like what you said, that there were clearly established boundaries, and that those boundaries were restated, when the meeting first started.
Yeah.
And they were enforced as they went along. Whoever was, the parents weren't letting it get out of control.
Right.
Or letting somebody get away with treating somebody in a dishonoring manner.
Well, you've got to have structure. If you don't have structure, then the whole thing can turn into chaos, and then nobody wants to have a family gathering again. It's like, no, I'll pass, because I don't want to be tortured, like that. So
right.
But if it's structured, it can be wonderful.
Yes, and I think kids need to be taught to love each other, and you can, by example, by affirming each child that shares, and the parents, no matter what age everybody is, by affirming what they say, you can teach the kids how to say affirming things.
Absolutely. And then you just carry that on into every aspect of your life. You can affirm at work, you can affirm at church, you can affirm everywhere you go. And I'll tell you what, if you learn how to become good at affirming, people will come out of the woodwork wanting to talk to you, because everybody needs to be encouraged. And if they know that you're an affirmer, boy, they will seek you out. And and to me, Jesus said, "Let your light so shine before all men and women, that they may see your good works and glorify God." And that's a good way to let our light shine, is to become a good affirmer.
Right.
And I've had people say, "Well, that feels so bogus. I can't affirm because that feels so bogus." Well, don't use that as a cop-out. Learn how to do it. Learn how to start doing it. Then it won't feel bogus at all anymore. It'll feel very natural, and that will become who you are. What is it like for you when I affirm you?
Oh, I feel like a flower that's blooming.
Yeah.
We can pull the petals off of somebody's flower by ripping them apart, or we can make them bloom by our words of affirmation.
Absolutely.
But it should be genuine things that we see about them, not things that we're making up or that aren't true, but look for things that you can say that are true about that person.
Yes.
one thing that we had talked about when we were discussing this program is, it might not necessarily want to be an official family meeting, but it would be good to have family meals together, and maybe go around the table and ask each person, what happened today that made you happy, and what was bad. And so what was the good thing that happened today, and what was the bad thing? And then you can ask questions like, how did that make you feel?
Right.
Maybe, can you tell me more about that? Something to encourage more sharing. But I think kids would look forward to family meals, if they knew that they were going to get to talk about their day.
Right.
And somebody cared to know what was going on with them.
Well, I've seen one family till at dinner time they told everybody to put their cell phones in a box.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because cell phones, I've seen all family members all together in one room and each person is on their phone. They might be in the same physical space, but they're not together, because everyone's looking at their phones.
Right.
So I like that there can be a technology break.
I've seen couples sitting in a restaurant and they're both together, but they're on their cell phones texting other people while they're sitting together for the meal.
So they're not really present with each other then.
No, it's like, I guess all the indications are is, I'm not so excited to be with you. I'd rather talk to this person on my cell phone. I mean, what a dishonoring thing to do with somebody that you're eating with. Put your cell phone away and talk to that person. Honor them. Respect them by giving them your full attention.
Yes.
Undivided attention. You see, that's another description of what honor is. It's like placing high value on that person to where you're really not only hearing them, but you're responding to what they just said.
Yeah.
The best way to tell if somebody's listening to you is if you ask them, just to make sure I've communicated clearly, could you please tell me what you heard me say? Wow.
You'll find out if they were listening or not.
I've done that to people and they've said, you were saying, well, can you repeat that again? I knew they weren't listening. I knew they weren't. But I didn't do that to set them up. I did that to show them that it's important to hear what the other person has to say. That's good communication skills. And to have a functional family, that's part of having a functional family. Don't be so distracted by so many other things that you don't even notice what's going on in your family member. Show interest in them. Ask questions. Ask questions? What is that? How do you ask questions? I asked a guy one time, I said, I noticed that you don't ask questions. And he said, that's because I don't care. Okay.
That's a sad commentary.
That's very sad. But I prayed one time and I said, Lord, I don't have the answers for this situation. And the Lord impressed on me, and it was like the Lord said, you don't know the questions. So I started asking him for the questions. And you say to me all the time,
how do you come up with all those questions?
Yeah, how do you come up with all these questions? I said, well, you need to talk to the Holy Spirit about that, because he's the one that gives them to me. But see, when you ask good questions, that opens the door for a lot of conversation. Tell them about that wedding that we went to, and everybody sitting around the table.
Yeah, there was probably 8 or 10 of us sitting at a round table, and nobody was saying anything.
Yeah.
And Chuck just began to ask people questions. What do you do for a living, and how did you get interested in that? And I was very shy, when we first got married, and it was good for me to watch your example. But I remember that I didn't ask questions because I thought they would think my questions were stupid. But what I saw is that people do want to enjoy talking about themselves, and you can get to know someone at a deeper level when you talk and ask questions, and it also puts people at ease.
Right, it really does.
So that was a good experience for me, is watching Chuck But I wanted to bring up a couple other things before we run out of time that help people feel safe to share at home, and that is no judgment or criticism.
Right.
Not making fun of each other or making jokes at each other's expense. No name calling, and no sarcasm.
Right.
You know, sarcasm is a big deal, and sometimes it's a way of getting back at somebody. And then if they call you on it, you can say, "Oh, I was just kidding."
Just kidding.
You
Can't
know,
you take a joke? Yeah.
But there's really no place for sarcasm. It's not good to use, you know. So we've covered so far that we want everyone in a functional family. A trait is that you have a voice,
Yes.
and that all are valued and all are able to share. And so we want to use good communication skills and have clear communication too.
Right. And you feel safe in sharing too.
Yes.
See, that's the key.
You know, a thing that I never really experienced until I met you was working through conflict all the way to resolution. And so I think being able to work through conflict all the way to resolution is a very big part of having a functional family.
Oh, it sure is.
Because otherwise things just build up until there's a blow up. But if you don't know how to communicate and talk about it and get to resolution, then the anger just stays there buried until something else triggers it.
Right.
So in some of our sessions, we've taught about when you're talking about conflict to take a time out if you start to escalate, taking turns being the speaker and listener, because you can't listen to somebody if you're both talking at the same time.
Right.
And listening to someone is a way of really letting them know that you love and value them.
Right, and that creates functionality in your home and in your life. And you start doing that somewhere, then maybe you'll incorporate that in every aspect, of your life. Believe me, it works. If dysfunction worked, people's families would be thriving. But dysfunction does not work,
No.
and it never will. So why not try something else that works so much better? If you want a different result, you've got to do something a little differently. And sometimes it's doing something that feels bogus. It feels real mechanical. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't do these tools and skills. I want to just be myself, and I want to talk the way I want to talk. And if it's rough and gruff and puts people down, that's too bad. Whatever. Well, you can live that way the rest of your life, but why not be open to another way that's going to minister to everybody that's around you, including your family, because your family needs ministry too. And me being the father and the husband, it's my responsibility to be a good leader, but I have to learn how to be a good leader. I had to take seminar after seminar to learn how to do these tools and skills. But that was one of the best investments I ever made, when I would pay for a seminar to go learn how to do something a better way.
Right. And the Bible has a lot to say about what a functional family would look like too, and children are told to honor their father and mother.
Right.
And in Colossians 3:13 it says, "Bear with one another and forgive one another. If any of you have a grievance against someone, then forgive as the Lord forgave you." So forgiveness is a big part of it. It says in Colossians 3:19, "Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them." In Ephesians 6:4 it says, "Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and the instruction of the Lord." So really, God's Word has a lot to say about what a functional family should look like.
It sure does. And don't feel bad if you need help with that. Don't
Yes.
feel bad if you need to learn the basics. I mean, when I enrolled in Bible college, they gave us a test of our knowledge of the Bible, and I thought the book of Job meant employment. So, I mean, I needed to learn the basics. That's exactly where I was.
Yeah.
So they put me in a class with the converted drug addicts because I didn't know anything about the Bible. You know, they'd ask me different characters about the Bible and what they did. I didn't have a clue. So start where you're at. I mean, it's okay to admit that you don't know much about these things. That's exactly where I was. But God sent me people like Kenneth Hagin mentored me early in my life, and it was wonderful because I learned a lot of things from him, and I didn't know why he wanted to mentor me. I just knew he wanted to, and so I took him up on it, and my goodness, I'm the man I am today because of the mentoring that I allowed in my life, and I had to put my pride down and respond to it.
And you got counseling too, so don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Absolutely.
And when we got married, after a few years, we got family counseling.
All kind of help because
Yes.
you need the help where you need it.
And don't be afraid or too proud to ask
Don't
for
be
it.
afraid to ask for it. It'll change your life. Well, our time's
Yes.
gone again. My goodness, it goes so fast. But we ask you to press the like, subscribe, and share button on this program. It helps us. If you want to leave a comment, we welcome that. And if you want to donate to our ministry, get on our website and press the donate button. We love you today. God bless you. Let us know how we can help you and pray for you. And we will see you next time.
If you are blessed by this ministry, please subscribe, like, and share. You can also make donations at chucklewisministries.com. Join us to keep uncovering the tools to build better relationships together. Let's do this again next week.